that I've been married to for 25 years and I started first grade with. You don't have to deal, okay, with a crooked, untruthful politician if you didn't elect him to begin with. And if he's been in your community for 50 years and you don't know him well enough after 50 years, then you haven't done your due diligence. We need reform. Don't get me wrong. Okay? But at the same time, I want to make sure that our reforms don't eliminate quality individuals that are smart and decision makers. We need more small businesses. I came in one of the largest classes in our nation's history. 87 strong. Half of us had never served before. But because I'm now a politician, I'm classified by many, just because I'm in an elected office, as a crook. You generalize me.
No, I apologize for putting you in the same ship with them, but theirs is sinking.
But my point is this. We've got to have a system where hardworking men and women can leave their family businesses without putting in jeopardy their family. Go serve and then come home.
I have no problem with that.
But so my point is, it's the people. It's the people. I'm burdened that there are some good people there that I marvel how they withstood the pressures. And they've done a great job. And they're honest, God-fearing people. And as I watch them off camera, and I watch them do their job, those are the kind of people we need there.
Would you name a couple of those?
Sure. Jim Jordan from Ohio. Mike Pence, who's probably going to be the next governor of Indiana, is one of the most God-fearing, honest, honorable men I have ever met. Tom Graves from Georgia. Dennis Ross from Florida. Marlon Stutzman from Indiana. Rilo Labrador from Idaho. Jeff Landry from Louisiana. You want me to continue? I mean, they're there. Now,
these are all names that I ain't never heard of.
Well, I can't do all the
stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. See, they're good enough people to where they can't find nothing on them to get dirt on them. But everybody else in the dead-gum news, they're gone.
Look, there's to find dirt. That's not important. I mean, we got a good buddy here, Max, over here behind the camera. Max is with the Florida Democratic Party. Max is called a tracker. Now, Max, he always gets nervous when this is show and tell part of the meeting. See, Max, he smiles. Because what Max is going to do is he's going to follow me from now to November. Okay? And it's not politically damaging for him to report that I'm married to a woman I started first grade with. That's not damaging. It's not damaging for the other party to talk about the fact that I'm perpetuating a family business of 60 years. And that we give back to our community. And that I have wonderful relationships with my siblings. And my very best friends in all the world are Tim, Suzanne, and Shane, my brothers and sisters. And that I honor my mother and father, and I will, all the days of my life. As I did yesterday. But that won't help get me unelected if they tell that story. So what Max is going to do is going to shadow me from now to November. And he's going to film me. And everything I do and everything I say. Okay? So that he can catch me saying 3 words of a response, and then they can create a video or a commercial, and they can cut and paste it. Now, until the American people say, enough's enough. And by the way, I've made it very clear. I did not track in my first campaign of my opponents. I will not track in this campaign. And I've told anyone in our party, don't be coming down here and doing what I'm talking about right now that I don't like. Do unto others as you would have do unto you. I'm going to debate my opponents on the issues. I'm going to debate my opponents on their vision for America compared to what I believe is my vision. So until the American people say enough is enough, the politics as usual, then you'll get more of the same. Hold on, wait, you've asked 2 questions.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I came here to listen and to learn, so I really appreciate the fact that you have not given us what seems like a typical stump speech. And as with you, one of my big concerns is the debt that our country is getting into. But there was something that you had said earlier when this lady had asked a question that I didn't understand, and I was hoping you could explain it. You had said something about a person who does not pay into their income tax getting $10,000 back. How does that happen?
Well, a lot of times, your family owns a tax service.
It's called the,
Stand up, Melissa.
it's called the Earned Income Tax Credit. And it was designed back during the Reagan administration to help the working poor.
So how does it work?
Well, based on your income, you can receive a tax credit if you have children that are within a certain age limit.
So you have to have a job, you have to work,
You have to be working.
you have to have a job.
That's why it's called the Earned Income Tax Credit. Because let's say if all of your income is from Social Security, or you lost your job and all of your income was from unemployment, you wouldn't qualify.
So people who are working and they may not, they pay income tax, they file their income tax and they pay over the course of a year $500 or $1,000, may get $5,000 or $6,000 back? Is that how it works?
They would, depending on their income, they would get all of that back that they paid in as a tax refund. And then they would get a tax credit on top of that.
But the
And then
tax
what
credit
can
is
make
dollars and cents.
it goes up to like, it's within the $5,000 to $6,000 range is the maximum.
But it's an actual check. It's not a credit. It's an actual check they get to spend.
It's called a refundable credit. It has nothing to do with what you paid in or what you owe. It is refundable to you.
How many citizens actually are entitled to this?
I don't have a statistic.
You don't have a percentage of the population.
No. You have to have, if you go get a tax book from the post office or wherever you can get a tax book, there's a chart in that book. And you can see where it starts, and it's like a curve. The more money you make, the tax credit increases. Then it levels out, say, between $12,000 and $16,000 or $17,000. Regardless of how much you make between that, you get the maximum earned income credit. Once your income begins to increase, then it slides off to zero and in the $40,000 range, depending on how many kids you have.
So I'm just wondering, in this day and age of talking a lot about fairness, etc., is that fair to the middle class taxpayer in your mind?
That is not an answer.
Well, let me say this. I mean, I think that one of the things that's not fair is for middle class to be working, gainfully employed, doing everything they can, and because they work at let's say that they work at an employer that's not able to provide them health care. And so they have a Blue Cross Blue Shield family policy. And Blue Cross Blue Shield is a major provider, I know, through North and Northwest Florida. What is not fair is for a corporation to be able to write off those health insurance premiums that they pay for their employees on their corporate taxes. But yet, the family who's struggling to make ends meet, doing everything they can, they make those monthly premiums to Blue Cross Blue Shield, except when it comes to their personal income tax that they file, they're not able to deduct those health insurance premiums for them and their family. And their insurance is probably more expensive, as you might be aware, is more expensive than, say, a group plan, had they been able to be a part of a group plan. That is an inefficiency, I think, or an inequity in our tax code. So that's not, if you want to say what is fair, and I'm very hesitant about delving into that word and giving one person the ability to determine fair over another. Certainly the federal government, who wants to debate or tell us what fair is. I'll tell you, when it comes to greed and getting everything that it wants that you produce, I think the federal government pretty much wrote the book on that one. Because if you're producing, if you're enjoying, if you have anything of value, they want their fair share of it. So, but I think that's just an example of, right there of something that I think needs to be changed. Another thing on the tax code is this. When we talk about health care, I think for doctors to not be able to have as a tax deduction when they provide health care services for someone who does not have health care, I think is wrong as well. I mean, just because, let's say that, the Supreme Court obviously heard the health care bill last week. Now, we don't know what they're going to do, and they probably won't do it until June or July. Well, but if they were to say that it is unconstitutional, that the government cannot mandate that you purchase a good or a service, if they do, we still then would have to replace it with something. Because we do have a problem in this country. People with pre-existing conditions, we have the rising cost of health care, that even with the passage of the health care bill, and the president claiming that it would make health insurance costs go down, we know that's not happening. And that health care premiums are increasing at least 12% a year. So we got to replace it with something. To do nothing is not acceptable.
Me, sorry, I get confused sometimes. First, I'm Alan Brock with the Wakulla County Commission. I want to thank you again for coming to Wakulla County. I want to thank you for your support of the Restore Act to help bring back some of the oil revenues back to our local coast, that we can help here in our community where we felt the impact. Sure, really appreciate that. We wanted to thank you for your offices. We've talked about in the past. I know you're looking into it at some point, trying to help with 319, if you ever can, with widening, so that we can help with the traffic issues that we have. And also in some of our historic neighborhoods, like Wakulla Gardens, which I know we've discussed before, where we have issues with flooding, stormwater, sewer, platted in the 50s, and it's had a population boom. And any help you can ever find, we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your kind words. You're probably going to hear a lot more about the Restore Act. The Restore Act, which was passed in the Senate version of their transportation bill, the Restore Act was actually a standalone bill, but it was attached to the Senate version. I really think over the next few weeks we will hear the House version of the Restore Act, perhaps as a standalone bill. I'm hoping. Because what the Restore Act does is, we're all aware of the BP, the Deepwater Horizon, the Macondo well that blew. As a result of that, BP will be fined somewhere between $5 and $20 billion in clean water violations, according to the Clean Water Act. And so what the Gulf delegation did, and when I say the Gulf delegation, those of us who serve in the House and in the Senate in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, what we did is we said, look, we believe that those monies should not go to the Treasury, that those monies should go, 20% goes to the Treasury, and 80% goes to the states that were most devastated by the accident. And that's not just the environmental damage, but it is also the economic damage. Because we've heard from county commissioners, city commissioners, that as a result of the shutting of the fisheries, as a result of the canceled tourism trips that were into North Florida, that there was economic damage. Businesses going out of business, and as you know, that if businesses are not thriving, there's not money coming in to the tax base, into the county commission, city commission. So there's economic damage, not just environmental. However, if you go to like Louisiana, you'll see probably more of a balance there. There was not just economic damage, there was environmental damage in the marshes there. So what the Restore Act does, it says that, okay, just for the example's sake of the Restore, and I want you to understand this because you're going to hear more about this in the news. That let's say if the fines are $10 billion, just as an example, that $2 billion go into the Treasury, and $8 billion is divided among the 5 states, and that parts of those monies go directly to the counties that were most affected by the disaster. And what that does is I think that addresses or prevents the federal government from profiting off a disaster that was felt among the coastal communities. And so that's what the Restore Act does. We'll continue to monitor that, and work on that, and let you know. And then finally, we've got a the 319 issue. I've got several highways in our district because I have 9 coastal counties. So we've got several counties that have major roads that go from the coast up to the state line, Alabama, Georgia. And so we're working, and there's an evacuation, it's a safety issue. When we have hurricanes or storms, so there needs to be, so we're working with several counties on that same issue. Now, I've got another event that I've got to get to. We usually allot an hour. We have an hour and a half. As soon as we're done, I'll visit with you one-on-one. And I'll continue to the chairman of the county commission?
I interjected.
Okay. We'll continue to visit with you one-on-one in just a moment. I want to say, because we've gone 30 minutes over, I want to thank you for your patience. We want to continue to educate. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a very good memory. I don't speak with notes. It comes from here. And I thank you for the honor that you've given me to represent you. Other than the successes of my marriage, the successes of our children, it's been the greatest privilege of my life. And so I will be, when this is over, I will be able, thank you very much. God bless you. And have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much.